Welcome to CARDESIGN.ACADEMY, and today I'm going to continue on with my mid-engine battery electric sports car, which I call the Ioniq R. This started out as a futuristic electric Corvette concept, which I've rebranded as Ioniq, representing the Hyundai Motor Group's new sub-brand for electrified vehicles. So anyway, the idea here is that this would be an offering as part of a racing series that would include virtual drivers competing against real drivers on closed circuits and real roads. So the idea is that I'm going to go into my sketch later and I'll show you. The idea is that the virtual racers would be competing in an at-home simulator, which would be this driver's seat and cockpit. There's been a similar study done in the past. You can see gamers can get quite serious with their rigs. Aston Martin did this study last year with this really sculpted cockpit that represents their brain language. And so the idea is that competitors, virtual competitors, compete against real drivers, who have the exact same cockpit in the car. So anyway, as drivers compete successfully in the virtual world, they graduate into being offered the opportunity to drive the real car against the world championship driver, sim racing girl. So with that being said, I started to lay out the interior, and you can see some of the original sketches that this is based on as well. I'm going to turn off the sketch layer, and you'll see I started to lay out the interior. And the whole thing is built around this central cockpit. So this would be the core interface of the vehicle, and along with with a sound system and perhaps an augmented reality readout display as well. So what I was going to do today is to start to develop this virtual home racing cockpit, and to do it as a series of abstract form studies, which is a great way in Gravity Sketch to start to develop new shapes and forms. I want the racing cockpit to be a real form statement. So as you can see here, also I've also built the main tub and headliner for the interior. I did that in a previous demo, and here you can see it's mated successfully to the exterior for the most part. There's a few gaps here and there which I need to close up, but it's not a big deal. I can tune that up later. And then there's some additional interior details that I want to work out. So with that being said, you can see what happens when you have a headliner, a properly done headliner, which is right up against that outer glass surface. It really starts to take on a sense of realism. So yeah, what I'm going to do today is start to generate that virtual racing cockpit. So as you can see also, I've taken on this really cool dark synthwave environment, which projects some really nice reflections on the vehicle. By the way, this is a new upgrade to the Oculus Quest version of Gravity Sketch, which was previously only available to those using Oculus Rift PC or HTC Vive PC, which is having reflective shaders in the environment, which really goes a long way to having beautiful surfaces and clean reflections and things like that. So hats off to Gravity Sketch for doing that. So anyway, I thought I'd create this really cool dark synthwave 80s inspired environment. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn on my mirror plane, and I'm going to grab my occupants. I'm gonna just duplicate my driver and move him forward. And so I'm going to move him forward and into the. I don't need to duplicate it. And I'm also going to move him into a center position. And I'm also going to grab the steering device here. So I'm going to lock the occupants. I'm going to grab the interior wireframe layer. And I'm just going to group that together, duplicate it, and while I'm at it, I'm going to give it a white shader. Actually, let's ungroup it, and then there we go. That's what I wanted. Okay, now I can regroup it. Bring it forward. There. Now I have a pretty cool idea of what this thing looks like. So I'm going to be building a series of abstract form studies, which will basically be a seat or a cockpit that envelops the driver, and he can get in and out and all that. But I'm also going to go ahead and turn off the exterior. It's getting a little heavy here, so I'm going to turn off some elements of the exterior. But I am going to keep the interior cockpit intact. I want to keep that so that I can see what's going on. So I'm gonna see what's so this way I have at least the interior environment that I can use to as a reference to make sure that whatever I do will fit into the interior when it's done. Because the idea is that the virtual racer who graduates to driving the real car will have the exact same cockpit. Okay, so I'm going to save what I have. Okay. So now I've got this layer called form study, and so I'm going to go ahead and just start sketching totally freehand using the ribbon stroke tool and sub D. And I'm gonna just pick a kind of a light gray sketch material, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start sketching out this virtual cockpit right around the driver. Join up the center line. So you can see already I have, I'm starting to have a pretty complete idea of what the seat looks like, and it's going to be super, it's going to be super formed to the driver. Very, very anatomical. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring back my sketch layer because I want to. I'm going to be referring to my form language study. So I have this idea of the heatsink being the form language of the vehicle platform because it's a functional element that cools the batteries and cools the circuitry. There's a lot of design that can go into heat sinks, and then I have for the Ionic T pickup, I have one set of colors and materials, and for the Ionic R, I have another set of forms and materials. You can see I'm kind of thinking about this very geometric, very faceted form language. So I'm going to be referring to that. So what I might do is actually grab this image here and bring it closer to my form study. So I have this as I'm going here. Maybe I'll even put that on my form study layer so I can get the other sketches put away here. So I want this form that envelops the driver. So I'm going to go ahead and start just building out from this shape here. I'm going to stay in poly view. and join these polys together and just stay in poly view and keep this thing super faceted. Oh, so this thing really needs to envelop the driver. You can see if I want to get this, so I'm back in poly view, and if I want to get this faceted look, I have to keep adding polygons. So this thing is really becoming more of a seating study. I'm going to make the occupant go away for a minute and really focus on the form. By making this reflective, I can really see what the surfaces are doing. So it's a process of simplifying, adding geometry and then simplifying geometry. So what I'm trying to do is figure out how to get the simplest geometry, but still something they can get in and out of. So let's see where we're at with the occupant. So yeah, it's extremely tight to the occupant's rear end, but we just need to free up a little more shoulder space here. And we're adding this pretty large head form, or this head restraint, not only for safety but also for the home simulator for sound. And as I'm doing the polygons, as I'm working the polygons, I'm looking for twists and things like that to try and stay away from. Probably just need to go a little bit wider at the head here for helmet clearance. So I'm going to go ahead and turn sub D back on, and you can see it's quite soft again, and that's because I took away a lot of geometry. I can always add it back. So what I'm going to do, however, first is I want to add some thickness to this thing. And then I'm going to start filling out the back. By keeping the polygons very simple at the beginning, I can easily add this parts thickness without a lot of fuss. A lot of times people, they get really deep into the geometry and then they have to go in and add thickness or add parts, and it gets really complicated. But here it just happens really quickly. So we now have a fully enclosed shape It's quite soft, so now we can go in and start adding additional geometry. Starting with the outer periphery. You can see it, now I have this nice hard edge. But I want to get this more faceted look, so I've got to get a lot more intricate with the geometry. So I'm just adding additional points and edge loops. So this is a three-sided shape, so I have to go in and make it four-sided. And the easy way to do that is to use my edge cut tool. Just add an edge cut right here. That makes it four-sided. Now I can go in and add additional geometry. The more geometry I add, the more faceted it gets. I'm making sure to grab the outer and inner points at the same time. You can see I'm starting to get this nice edge through here. I'm going to grab my flashlight and see what I have underneath here. The flashlight's a really handy tool. So let's turn off the driver for a second. And we can also turn off the mirror and just see what we have here. Yeah, so that's starting to look like a really nice sort of faceted version of a human seat. And I'm just adding additional polys to really just tighten this thing up. but I want to get it even more faceted. So I'm going to add additional polys through here. And here I'm going to start to divorce the outer and the inner shape. I don't think that's helping. It doesn't really matter because that surface is going to be kind of up against the car anyway. But or it could be that I add, you know, for the simulator I add a backer piece. So why don't we try that? So I'm kind of feeling like this is going to want to be the main seat. I think I can go ahead and just delete some of these again. We don't need those. Okay, so that's the main seat, and we just need a little bit of padding. So actually, I could see this being like the structural bucket of the seat, and then the actual padding is something else. So maybe perhaps, you know, we duplicate this, and we take out some sections. And we just fill in the ends. We do the same on the rear. So now, you know, we have this sort of individual bucket, you know, and if we want to say that this is a padded material, well, first of all, we can assign a non-reflective shader to it, maybe even a different color. Trying to figure out what this problem is. Okay, so then we can go in and maybe delete some of these additional edges, just to kind of soften it up ever so slightly. We don't want to soften it up a lot because this is a padded material. I'll probably just grab all of these points and shift them inboard just a little bit as well, so that when we put this thing back down into the seat, it fits really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and close out the back as well. The headrest. And yeah, again, take out a few points just to soften it up slightly. But we can give it a bit of sculpture too. So let's try. I'm going to give it a bit of padding here. All right, let's see what we've got. Okay, now I want to try something else. I think I need a midsection as well. So let's do this again. So one of the things that I wanted to mention is that I'm taking a very different approach to this sports car interior, in that I'm working entirely in Gravity Sketch. I started with some very, very basic interior theme sketches, but the theme development is going to happen in Gravity Sketch. What I'm doing now is I'm extending this into the footrest area. Okay, so now I want to start to build this cockpit which envelops the driver. Oh yeah, and I'm going to give this a darker finish as well. Let's mirror that. That looks pretty cool. So these could be these some floating pads that kind of wing out from the main bucket. Now I can start to add some additional geometry to get these pads to read nice and tight once I switch them back to sub D. I'm backing up because I actually want to do something else. Where's my menu? Ah, it's right there. Okay. I want to create this sort of wing shape coming off of it as well. Okay, now I can extrude. Extrude the faces. Now it's going to have a bit of shape to it, so I'm just going to start adding additional geometry. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let's just turn on the driver's seat, or the driver. Let's turn on the driver. Yeah, he's looking pretty comfortable in there. Let's call this seat study instead. Or just seat. Yeah, just seat. Let's call it seat. Okay. I am a little curious as to how it's going to fit in the tub. So what I could do is just turn off the interior wireframe and grab the seat. Duplicate it and place it in the vehicle. Yeah, overall it fits pretty well. But you can see I'm going to have to taper the footwell. Either that or work the tub a little bit. I think I want to get more of a faceted look to the footwell anyway. So, but yeah, it seems to be fitting pretty well. Very cool. So I'm just gonna work these sections here, get more of this tapered look to the foot area. I can't get too narrow with this because it's gonna intrude into the feet. Okay, so I'm going to go into my, next thing I want to do is I want to start to figure out how how this steering mechanism is going to be supported. And I think it's going to be single-sided. So I'm going to turn off the mirror. It's going to be single-sided for two reasons. One is in the simulator mode, you're going to have to get in and out of the seat. Plus, in the vehicle, you're not going to have room within the door panel. So so this would form sort of the center console of the interior. So I'm going to turn off my mirror, and I'm going to start going in. And oh yeah, and the other thing is I wanted to bake mirrored. Okay, so let's go ahead and group what we have here. And I'm also going to add a new layer. I'm just going to call this console. And I'm just trying to think about how this thing is going to be supported. And I'm following exactly the driver's arm. Right into the side of the steering pod. So again, using the human as the starting point. And then from there, I'm going to extrude. I'm going to close this out. And I'm just going to start to work these forms so that there's no weird twists or turns. Just checking the battery. You can see by, when you're working in polygons, it's much easier as you're starting out to work out any of the weird twists and turns in the polygons, because that's going to really save you when it comes time to think about your highlights and your reflections. And now to add some additional geometry, so that when I go into a smooth view, everything is really nice and tight. I'm going to turn off my driver really quick, and I want to see if there's an opportunity to add some additional form to this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these rows again, and trying to get this thing some thickness, which is going to help with mounting this thing to the binnacle. So one of the things I'm going to do now is ghost this wireframe, so you can see what I'm doing. You can see it's a very soft shape right now. As I add additional geometry, it's going to get very, very tight. So now we have the basic structure for this steering system. So I'm going to turn my mirror back on. I'll lock the seat as well. So I'm going to turn my mirror back on. And I'm going to start to build the steering system. Using the wireframe as a guide. Now I'm just closing out the underside of these control handles. Now I'm just adding those tight edges. Okay, so I'm going to turn off the interior wireframe layer completely. That's looking pretty cool. I'm going to work on this console a little bit, this binnacle here, and I'm just going to bring it inboard a bit so it doesn't protrude on the other side. So it's supported, but it's not making a visual statement. And this one needs to get tighter. I'm going to turn off my mirror as well. I might add some additional details, like maybe like a top piece here. And I'm going to design some grip inserts as well. That's looking pretty techy. And I think the last thing I'm going to do is add a screen. Okay, so I'm about to wrap this up. I'm just going to turn on my occupant again. And I am going to have to, at some point, get this back in the car. So what I'm going to try that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on my console layer and my seat layer. Oh, the console layer I'm going to group together. And console and seat can move back together. Just make sure. I may have to bake some of this stuff. Let's do that again. Okay. First thing I need to do is select these grips in Bake Mirrored. Okay, yep, this has got to get baked. Okay, so everything is grouped together, and that way I can just send it back. It fits pretty well. So the passenger seat's just along for the ride, so we're going to develop another seat for them. But overall, I think that's a pretty compelling interior concept. I'm just going to go ahead and turn on the exterior again. I'm going to turn on the glass. Let's see if I'll turn on my tires. This is getting very heavy. But that is a pretty cool interior. Look at that. Let's turn on the cut lines as well. Pretty cool.